ceiling. I don't know. One, are we good? Let's see here. I got my laptop, and this is how I make sure everything is straight and good to go. Let me see. Am I turning it too much? Which way am I going with this? It's backwards. So it's just, it's all wonky. And I apologize. I don't like things all wonky. I like things straight. And I like when we got plenty of light. So let's move this light in here so we can see clearly. Okay, hello everybody. This is Carla. Welcome back to the studio. And this is my Friday night kind of live that I would have done and would have had scheduled and posted at 7 p.m. on Friday, April 25th. However, uh, our dear friend Terry had come to Memphis to visit. We had all gone out to dinner, and so yeah, the week kind of got away from me. Actually, the Throwback Thursday for the 24th of April, I just actually recorded that one just before doing this one. So again, this is a kind of live, and uh, we had done on Saturday, so I'm recording this on a Sunday evening. So we had done, since Terry is here in town, we had decided to do a live in which she would be a guest stamper. So we did this Saturday evening. It was at 6:30 p.m. So that was done before the Thursday and the Friday video. So if you look at the dates on things, it may seem a little out of whack, but I do have the date of this one as April 25th. And of course, the Saturday one is going to say April 26th. It's just in the order that it's showing in the content. It's just going to be off a little bit. So that's why that's the way it looks. So, let's see what's going on. So, we had, now again, I'm recording this on a Sunday, but we just had, and I got to stop with the ums and the uhs because I saw the transcript of the Friday night live that I had done, or was it the kind of live I did like 2 weeks ago? Yeah, there was too much ums and uhs, and I gotta stop doing that because that kind of annoyed me, to be honest with you. But anyway, and I just did it again. So what's going on? So we did have free shipping. It was on Wednesday through Friday, the 23rd through the 25th. Now, I did not include that in my initial newsletter only because I didn't know about it until after the fact, but I did send out another newsletter. It was the evening of the 23rd to let everybody who's on my that subscribes to my newsletter that was going on. I hope that you were able to take advantage of that, especially if you needed to restock on Cardstock, which is what I needed to do. And because the price of Cardstock with the new catalog, which will go live on May 6th, there will be a price increase. So they will be going from $11.50 a pack up to $14 a pack. Now that's in US dollars. So yeah, I stocked up on that, and there are a few other items that I did get. So some new product. There, pretty much, I believe what I have coming is stuff there is stuff that's carrying over, whether it's in the annual catalog or if it's going to be listed in the online exclusives. It's new to me, and I definitely have not played with it yet. So So I have that coming, and then there are a couple things that I did get that is going away. Now there are a few things that are going away that I wasn't able to get, and I'm going to put this out there, and I don't know if this is going to do anything or not, but if you are a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, Stampin' Up! Is doing this year what they did last year, where they were offering the add-on dies um, for each of, well, not for each of the kits, but like for example, this is the Spring is in the Air dies, and these dies they coordinate with the January, February, and the March 2025 Paper Pumpkin kits. And last year, these dies, so every quarter they do come out with another set of dies that are going to coordinate, with those three, paper pumpkin kits. Now, the dies, you don't need them to do the kits. This is just if you want to do some additional crafting. So, for example, there is a stamp that has these leaves and these branches along with the flower. And so this die is going to die cut those stamped images. And then these are just extra detailed dies that go with March, and then the February has the heart and the scallop piece to it as well. Well, last year these dies pretty much lasted throughout the whole year, and there's actually still a couple of them left in the under Paper Pumpkin in the online store, but I didn't get the opportunity to get these dies. So these are the Spring is in the Air dies, and they are gone. And so, yeah, I wasn't able to get them. I was really looking forward to, these detailed honeycomb and the bee. Now, this here that goes to the February kit, which I think these were chives, something like that. I can stamp it, and I can most likely use my scan and cut to cut it out, but yeah, I wasn't able to get these dies. So if anybody has these and they want to sell them, just let me know. I did get the ones that are for the April, May, and June, but I'm kind of disappointed that these were already gone. There's actually a couple of things like their Courage and Faith stamp set. I like getting the ones that are faith related, and yeah, that one was gone before I was able to get it. So I was kind of disappointed about that one too. And what's crazy is that there were some bundles, the stamps and the dies, where there's still sets of dies, but the stamp sets are gone. And that's kind of weird to me. See, Stampin' Up! Used to make the stamps like at least up to, I think, the week before a catalog retired, but they're not doing that anymore. So now it's like, okay, I mean, I like the bundle, but I really want the stamp set to go with the set of dies. So yeah, so I kind of missed out on some of those items. So, but it is what it is, and there's always more stuff that comes out. So we're not going to stress over it. So again, welcome. This is my Friday night kind of live. It is being recorded after Saturday Night Live and my Throwback Thursday. So hopefully next week everything will be back in order. Next week will be a pretty busy video week because on Thursday, it's actually not February. Oh my goodness. It'll be May 1st. So that means we not only have a Throwback Thursday, but we also have a monthly Christmas card inspiration. I don't even know what I'm using yet on either one of those. And then for Friday, then there's going to be a Friday night live. I should be live. I don't see anything happening right now. If, with anything happening that would make it a kind of live. So I don't even know what I'm using for that yet, but I do have some new product that will be showing up beforehand. So it's possible that I'll be using something out of that for my Friday Night Live. So with that, what are we using for for these projects tonight? So I am using the Round We Go bundle. Now this bundle, though, as far as what I see, these are not, the stamp set and the set of dies is not on the last chance list. So it looks like that it's going to be carrying over. I don't know if it's actually in the annual catalog or if it's going to continue on in the online exclusives. And I apologize for not knowing that. I'll be honest with you that when you have not only an annual catalog, plus there's a mini catalog, then you have the online exclusives, and then you got kits collection and all. It's a lot of stuff, and every month in the online, it will, with the kits collection, they're always bringing out like 2 or 3 new kits each month. Then what is it? I think every other month, every 2 months, that's when Stampin' Up goes and adds stuff to the last chance list. So the last chance list doesn't just happen when a catalog is retiring. It's going to be every 2 months. And of course, the products that are included in that are either going to be what's in the online exclusives, or it can be what was from carried over from whether it was the annual catalog or one of the mini catalogs. So it's a whole lot to try and remember what's staying and what's going. But I will tell you that if you go into the online store, if you see something that says last chance, then yeah, that means that it will be leaving. So that's while supplies last. And if you don't see last chance on anything, and maybe it says currently unavailable, that means it's coming back. So it's just out of stock, but it will be back. This one, I believe, is still good. I don't believe these are on back order, and they are carrying over, so that's a good thing. So for these projects, we are going to be making the rosettes, and there's a die in here. You got one. Let me just pull it out to show you. So there's this one die here that you cut 2 of these out, and then you glue them together, and they actually have your score lines in them, so it makes it easy for the folding of them to where you can create your rosette. Now, to make the rosettes, to kind of bring them together, now to glue the ends, I'll just use liquid glue. But to actually create the rosette, I'll be using a hot glue gun. So what I'm going to do is I have my glue gun right over here on the side. I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it in so that way it gets hot, because my second project, we're going to actually put together a rosette. And the third project has a rosette, but I already did that in advance. But we do need this to heat up. So I got my glue gun here, and I do want to place it in a spot where I am not going to burn myself with the glue, because right here, you can't really see it that much, but I actually burned my hand back in early December, when I was doing a whole lot of hot gluing, making ornaments. Yeah, that didn't feel good when it ended up ripping up part of my skin. So let me plug this in. So that way it'll be ready when we're ready to get to that card. So let me just put this aside, and I'll move this out of the way. So let me get the pieces. So as I do usually on most of the projects that I do a video for, there are things that I do ahead of time. On this one, I will need to do a little bit of embossing, but I have to stamp first. So for the first card, for my card base, I have a piece of Petunia Pop. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Blueberry Bushel. This measures 4.5 by 3 1/4. I have a 4 1/4 by 3 inch piece of basic white. We're going to stamp on this, and then we're going to do some dry embossing on that. Out of a scrap piece of basic white, this circle comes from the Stylish Shapes dies. And then there are these dies in the Round We Go bundle. So ahead of time, there's 2 different ones here. There's one a little bit larger than the other. I die cut 2 of the larger ones, 2 of the smaller ones, and this was done out of the Full of Life Designer Series paper. So I'll be using this paper in all of my projects. So there's a lot of fun watercolor looking designs in here. So I thought this would be perfect to use on this. Now, this paper, my understanding is that it is carrying over. So that's a really good thing. And then, like I mentioned, I'll be stamping on this basic white piece, and then I will emboss it using the Dotted Circles 3D embossing folder, and I believe this is carried over as well. So and then of course, like I said, these I die cut out of that paper, so there's a print that does have like a rainbow stripe in it, so I just picked a couple of spots and just die cut those pieces. So let me take my card base. Let's fold and burnish this. Okay, and then this is a photopolymer stamp set, so I'm going to bring in my my Stampin' Pierce, my Pierce mat or foam mat. So you can use, if you don't have one of these, you can use what is it? The craft foam. You just need something that has a little bit of cushion to it, so then that way you will get a nice stamped image when you're using your photopolymer stamp sets. So I'm going to use this this larger round one right here, and I need to take that off. And then on this piece of basic white that I die cut ahead of time, I'm going to pull out the stamp that says Time to Celebrate. Okay, and let's get our blocks. And we got this one. Okay, make sure that these are cardstocks clean. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in, let's see, we're going to use Pumpkin Pie for the greeting. And then I'm going to use Daffodil Delight for this larger rosette, or pinwheel, or I don't know what to really call this image. Okay, so then I'm going to take this larger one here. I'm going to ink this up, and now you see all these little bubbles on here? That's because the ink pad is really, really inky. So I'm going to bring in the back of a spoon, and I'm just going to press this ink into the ink pad, because that's just too much ink. And then let me clean this spoon off so I can put it down and it won't get on everything. I would hate to do a card, especially using white cardstock, and then next thing you know, you got ink all over it because it got on a stamp. And let's clean this off. And I may have to do the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry for knocking the camera. And then the pumpkin pie, I may have to do the same thing too, because I because they're so inky, after I press the ink down in it, I like to take these and instead of having them facing the right way, I'll flip them upside down so that way the ink pad is facing up rather than facing down when it's closed. So then that way the ink doesn't come to the surface. Okay, let's clean this. Okay, and we'll close that up. All right, let's try this again. So I'm going to ink this up in my Daffodil Delight. Much better, you don't see so many bubbles in that. And I'm going to try to center this. So I'll stamp it once, and then I'm just going to shift it a little bit. And I want to get in between. I'm trying to line this up. Like so. So you have a two-tone, what looks like a two-tone flower. Now you can see a little bit of like a white gap in between, but that's not going to be a problem because we're going to emboss this, and most of this is going to be covered up with our greeting piece. So then our greeting piece, we're going to take the time to celebrate. We're going to ink that up in the pumpkin pie. Now I just basically went with the colors that are in the paper, so it all comes together. Okay, so let's take these. So see, I pressed that ink. So now when I close it, instead of storing it this way, I'm going to store it upside down like this. So that way the ink kind of stays in the pad rather than going to the surface. But I'll probably still have to press that ink in there when I go to use it. Okay, so let me move that out of the way. And then we'll get these pieces out of our way, because we're going to bring in our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine to do the embossing. Okay, so for this one, the sandwich that you would use is your number one. This is this is the base plate. And then because this embossing folder is a 3D embossing folder, you want the dark gray number 4 plate for it. You don't need the cutting plates, and you don't need that die adapter plate either. So I'm going to take this piece that I just stamped. Now in the embossing folder, hopefully I'm not too close, I'm going to take this and I'm going to line this up. So this is going to just fit in this this circle right here with these smaller dots, and then I'm going to line the center up within those circles right there in the middle. And then once I got that like so, I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to really try not to touch the tip of this glue gun over here, because it would not be good if I end up burning my hand, especially when I'm recording this. I apologize for the shaking camera. Okay, so let's take this and get it out of the way. Excuse me. All right, so let's take this piece out. So this is what it looks like after it's been embossed. And let's take our embossing folder, move that out of the way. Okay, and then let's do some assembling of our card. Okay, so then I'm going to take this basic white piece, And I'm going to glue this down to my blueberry bushel piece. Okay. I'm going to center this like so. And I'm going to get a block. I'm going to actually take this one to kind of hold that down. I'm going to set that aside for a moment. And then I'm going to take these pieces here. And let's see, we're going to put them together. So I'm going to take the larger one. I'm going to have that down on the bottom. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, not much. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to lay this right over it. And then the petals of this smaller one is going to fit right in between the larger one. So that's what it's going to look like. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing with this one. A little bit of glue down this. And then we'll take this piece and we'll lay that right over. Okay, this isn't lined up right. See if we can just shift it a little bit. Okay. And then on the backs of these, we're going to add a dimensional. Okay, and then let's get our card base and this piece here that we adhered together. And we're going to center this onto our card front, like so. Bring this down just a tiny bit and hopefully it doesn't mess with the focusing every time I bring my hands and my arms in. Okay, and then we're going to take these two pieces that we had die cut and adhered together, and I'm going to add this one up here in this corner like so, and then this one, I'm going to add that one right down here. Okay, and then the stylish shape circle that we stamped the time to celebrate on, we're going to bring in dimensionals for the back of this. And then let's tear some of these pieces off. And stick that on there like so. Put that one there. Okay, and then we'll put this right in the center. Let's make sure our card is straight. And then this will fit right within those embossed dots. Now, for the embellishment on what I'm going to use on this, I am basically using everything that's in the Full of Life suite of products, except for the stamp set and the set of dies. So the embellishments I'm using are the iridescent faceted gems. This is part of that suite. it just seemed like since I'm using the paper, it all kind of ties in very well together. So I figured, yeah, let's go with these. And again, these have carried over as well. I think everything in the suite, I think except for the bundle. I don't think the bundle is carrying over. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is. Okay, so then I'm going to add a few of these on here. So you have a larger size and then you have the smaller ones. So I'm going to add these on here like so. And there is the first card. So this one is simple. The other ones are a bit stepped up. And our third one is actually not even a card. So let me put this aside. And then let's get what we need for our second one. And this one we're going to be using the glue gun for this one. And actually the last one, yeah, I think I may actually use it on the last one. We'll see. We'll see. So this one and the last one, the last project we're doing, we have the rosette. So this first one, I'm actually going to create the rosette. The last project I already had created the rosette, so I already glued it. So I just want to show you the process. Now again, when you make these, the best thing to use as far as making the rosette is using a hot glue gun. You do want to be careful with it because again, it's hot glue and you want to spare your fingers. So like those rubber fingers that you can get, you can use those to protect your fingers if you want. So I'm going to show you how you actually make the rosette itself. So for this card, my card base is a piece of basic white thick. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of basic black. This measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I have a piece of that Full of Life Designer Series paper. This measures 5 by 3 3/4. So we're going to use this side here with these dots. And then let's see, then I have this piece of basic white, and I don't have a measurement for this one. So this is, what is this one? So it's 2 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. And I don't have it on my list, so I need to add that, and I'll do that later on. Okay, so I am going to take my card base. I'm going to fold and burnish this. Okay, and then I'm going to glue my Designer Series paper onto this piece of basic black. Okay. And there's just going to be a little tiny border of that black. Okay, and then we'll glue this to our card base. Okay, and we'll center this like so. Okay, and then we'll set this aside. And then this little strip right here, we're going to stamp our greeting on there. And we're going to stamp the happy birthday that's in here. I'll pull that out. And then we're going to stamp that using the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Now, this isn't something I came up with. Somebody else came up with it long before me, but it just works really well. So a little tip. Stampin' Up has the white craft stamping pad. Now, these ink pads, they are not inked. It comes with the white re-inker, so you would add the ink to the pad. Uh, the Memento Tuxedo Black ink, it comes in a felt pad. And I have found that when I stamp with it, I don't get that really deep, opaque black ink like what you would get when you use the StazOn. When it comes to StazOn and photopolymer stamps, if you use it on photopolymer, just know that you are not going to get that ink off of there. And I do not advise that you use the StazOn cleaner to then clean your photopolymer stamps because, um, one, that the cleaner could end up breaking down the photopolymer. Now, you can use it, you know, if you clean it and then you wash it with soap and water right away. But then what's going to happen, the black ink that's on your stamp, if you use that StazOn cleaner, it's going to take that black ink and it's going to transfer it on the whole photopolymer. And then your whole stamp is going to be stained black. And then you're really not going to be able to see through it. So I don't advise using StazOn ink on your photopolymer stamps. So the StazOn would have a nice deep black image. By having the memento on a foam pad, it gives you that same effect. So it's nice and you get a nice dark deep black on that. So all you do is, all I did was I took a Memento Tuxedo Black ink refill and I just added ink to the foam pad. Now, you do not need the whole bottle. You're not even using like half of the re-inker to ink this up. So that's just like a little tip. So I'm going to bring in my foam craft mat again. Now, because this is really, really inky, I'm just going to lightly ink my stamp. I'm not going to mash this stamp into the ink pad because this is, like I said, this is really inky. And then I'm going to stamp this right here in the middle. And again, I'm not going to press really hard because there is a lot of ink on this stamp. So there you go. So you got a nice deep black stamped image there with the greeting. Okay, so now let's close this up. That's the only stamping that we're doing. So now let's talk about the rosette itself. So let me close up my glue for the time being and I'll move this out of the way. Okay, so with that die, to make the rosette, you want to die cut 2 of those pieces. So you can see on this piece, you have one edge here, and then you have like this tab edge right here. And let me actually, yeah, we're going to do this side. So what I want to do is I want to take one of the tab ends and, yeah, okay. So let me kind of explain what you're seeing here. So when I went to cut this out on that 6x6 piece of designer series paper, one side of the die is going to give you like this zigzag cut, and then the other end's going to give you this scalloped. So I want the zigzag edge of it, I want that to be what's on the outside, and then the scalp is going to be on the inside. Now you're not really going to see it because that's where it's going to be all glued together. So when I was die cutting, you can see that some of the like this die or whatever kind of cut into that. So you're not going to see this, so that's fine. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this tab right here. I'm going to glue this on, and then we'll have one long strip. So let me get my liquid glue, and you can see the little score line on here. And you don't need a lot of glue. And then you just take this and you line it up. And I know it looks off a little bit, but that's okay. You're really not going to notice that once you have this together. I want to make sure that my zigzag is going to kind of line up there. And we want to make sure that we got this attached to where we'll be able to do our zigzag fold. Okay, so it looks a little off, but that's okay. That's okay. You won't really notice that once we put it together. Okay, so then we're going to start doing our zigzag fold. So you're just basically following those score lines that were created from that die. And you're just going to do your zigzag fold like so. So you're going to do this on the whole strip. So the last project I already had gone and done this, because as you can see, it is a little time consuming. So you just want to fold it and you want to press as you go. Okay, and then this is going to fold over. This is where we joined the two pieces together. Okay. And so I got this bundle kind of early on when after the catalog went live. There was a sale on, so the stamp and die bundles, it has a 10% discount, bundle pricing on it. And their sale, you got, I believe, an additional 20% off on top of that. So that is when I had bought this bundle, but this is actually the first time I am using it. Pretty sad. I'm a little late to the game here, but at least I'm using it. Okay, so we're almost there. We got 2 more folds to go, and then we got 1 more right here. And then you just want to press that all together. And then this is what it's going to look like after you get it all folded. Now we want to glue the ends together. So on our tab end here, I'm going to add just a little bit of glue. You don't want a lot because you don't want it oozing out all over the place. And then we're going to take this and we're going to line this up like so. And we're going to attach these together. Press it together just like that. Okay, so then let's kind of fix that fold there. Okay, so then when we do this, we want our pointed zigzag edges to be on the outside. So the best way to make these, I don't advise using the liquid glue because you want something that's going to hold this all together and it's going to dry fairly quickly. So the way I do this, so I want to make sure I have this the way that I want it. So you want to kind of press it together so it looks like that, okay? What I'm going to do is, now that I got it kind of mushed together, I'm going to take my hot glue. I'm going to create a puddle of glue like so. And then I'm going to take my rosette and I'm going to literally place that right in the middle of the glue. And I want to press it together. And I'm pressing it in that glue. Now, it's going to take a little bit, so you want to hold it. Now, with hot glue, it does dry fairly quickly, but you can blow on it to dry it quicker. You just have to have a little patience on this part, because once it dries, it's going to hold this together and it's going to stay like this. If you want to blow on it to make it dry. And so there is that puddle that's back here, so it kind of spreads out. So it's kind of holding it all together there in the middle. So it's kind of stuck there. Okay, let that cool a little bit. Let's see. I'm debating whether if I want to use the glue gun on the last one. I did create the rosette. I wanted to show you like the process of actually assembling the rosette. And for the second one, we're making another rosette, but instead of having this zigzag pointed edge on the outside, we're going to have that rounded scalloped end on the outside. Okay, so we're going to remove that, and you can see that we have some glue there, and I didn't exactly center it because I can see that there's more glue on this end than there is right there. But that's okay, because we're going to actually hot glue this down to our card, because this card is not going to fall apart at all. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my hot glue. I'm going to add some on the back here, like so. One thing I don't like about these glue guns is that they have these strings of the glue on them. And then I'm going to place this down. Now the edges, the sides that were glued together, so the seams right there, I am going to have those horizontal because our happy birthday label is going to go right over this. So I'm going to press this down. And this glue, it's not going to show through your card front at all. So when you open the card, you're not going to see anything come through. But you can see this is not going to go anywhere. That's glued down. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way. And I think we may use this when we're assembling our last project. Okay, so then the other thing that I'm going to use in this, that's part of that Full of Life suite, this is the iridescent stripe trim. This too is carrying over. So I'm going to take my greeting piece right here. I'm going to bring in, actually, I want my tear and tape for this. And I'm going to add some to the back of my greeting piece here. Okay. And then on this one here. Like so. We want to make sure that our ribbon's going to stick to this. Okay, so I'm going to pull some of this off. And let's remove the paper backing on this. Okay. And then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to kind of do this zigzag on the back of this. So we're going to come up here and go about halfway, looping it, and then over on the other end like so. Okay. And then I'm going to add some more of that tear and tape because we want this to stick onto our on top of our rosette. So I'm going to add some more on top. Press that down. kind of burnish that down so it sticks really well. And then I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. Now I am going to trim the rest of the roll off of this. I just want to lay it down on top of my rosette first. Okay, so let's get our card. Let's bring that in. We'll move this over here. And then we're going to take this and put this right across our rosette. So we're covering up those two seams on either end. And this is going to hold that greeting down to that perfectly. Okay, so let me get my snips. And we're going to trim this down just a little bit. I'm going to cut this at an angle. And then we'll turn it around. And we'll trim that like so. So we got a little bit of that sparkle from that ribbon. And then we're going to bring in the faceted dots as well. We're going to add some of those onto here, because it just truly does work very well with this designer series paper. Let me get this last one. We'll put that one right up there. Okay, so there is the second card. Now for this card, it would be a little bit hard to mail this. I mean, you couldn't just put it in a regular envelope. If you put it like, say, in a bubble envelope, or it would be perfect, you know, if you were seeing the person, you know, and you have the gift and you can put this in with their gift. So yeah, to mail it, it would cost a little bit more to mail this because it is a little bit bulky there, okay? But there is our second card. So now let's do our last project, which it's not actually a card. So again, this makes the rosettes, and you can make a really cool ribbon. So let me bring in the pieces and let me show you the sample one that I did. So this is the sample one right here. And again, on the, this is that Full of Life Designer Series paper. And I just took a part of the design and I die cut two of those, of the rosette strips out of it, and then I glued the one end together, and then I did the folds. And again, like I said, the outside part of this is the scalloped, and so those pointy tips are in the middle. Then I took another piece of the paper out of that paper pack, and I die cut these labels. These labels are from the Stylish Shapes dies. And then I have, out of Boho Blue, I die cut two more of those labels. And then there's a stamp in the stamp set. It's actually all, you know, all one stamp where it says happiest birthday. So what I did was I took a piece of Scotch tape and I covered up the birthday, and I inked up the happiest using Versamark. And then I used the white embossing powder, and I heat set that. And then I did the same thing with the birthday. I just put the piece of tape on the happiest, inked up the birthday, and stamped that. But you do got to remember when you do that, that you have to remove that piece of tape before you go and stamp down. Okay, so this is the sample that I made, and this is basically your blues and your purples. So I'm going to do another one, but this one is going to kind of be in your reds and your pinks. And again, ahead of time, I did create the rosette to save some time, but I think I may end up using this glue gun to attach the backing and this front piece to the rosette itself. Okay, so let's kind of put this stuff together. So ahead of time, So again, I'm using the Full of Life Designer Series paper, and ahead of time I die cut. There is a pattern in here where you have like these color um, blotches. Is that the word that I want to look for? And then I just die cut it where it looks like it's just striped with the pinks and the reds. So I have two of those out of that Designer Series paper. It's actually the back of this paper right here. And then out of Melon Mambo, I did the Happiest Birthday, heat embossed it with the white embossing powder. And then I have two of now these dies, this is part of the set of dies with Round We Go. And I die cut two of these. These are out of Basic White Thick. So we're going to stamp on these. I'm going to bring in my Pierce mat for this. And then I want a piece of scrap paper, because one of them we're going to kind of stamp off a little bit here. So on this one, I'm going to pull out like this little sparkle stamp here, and I'm going to bring out the Time to Celebrate, which I have right there. I may have to clean that. So let me bring that out. We'll put that on there. Let me make sure that this is clean before I stick it into a different color ink. Actually clean all of these. All right. Okay, so on this one here, I'm going to bring in my Melon Mambo ink, and also, let's see, and Fresh Freesia. And I'm going to stamp my Time to Celebrate right in the middle. So I want to move that scrap paper out of the way. And I'm going to ink up my Time to Celebrate. And I'll stamp that right in the middle, like so. And then I will take those little sparkles there and my Fresh Freesia. And this I'm going to need my scrap paper for. Ink this up. I'm going to stamp on that side, and then I'll do the opposite side of that. So we have, so it's going to dry a little bit lighter. And then for the back piece, I'm just going to add some of these sparkles to that, like so. All right, so this piece here is what's going to cover, we're going to adhere down those labels, and that piece is going to actually cover that all up when we assemble it to our rosette. Okay, so then let me get my mat here. Make sure that my glue gun doesn't start to drip any glue. So I'm going to bring in my liquid glue, and I'm going to take my Happiest Birthday, I want of course, the ends that I heat embossed, I want those to be down near the bottom. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue. I'm going to add that right there. And I'm going to adhere these. Now I don't need like a really big gap in here. Now I am going to add some of that iridescent stripe trim, and you will be able to see that back behind that. And then I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And then I'm going to take this. And I'm going to glue that to the back there. So we're going to have like all of these label streamers here. And then add some glue to the back of this. And then we'll add that right there. Just make sure that all sticks down. Okay, and then the way this is going to all fit in there, this is going to kind of go like that. All right, so then I'm going to take, let's see, I'll take some of my tear and tape. And I'm going to add a little bit right across the top here. Okay. And then let me get my take your pick tool. Remove these paper backings. Okay. And then we'll place these down like so. And then we're going to take our rosette and we're going to, let's see, we'll put it like this. Okay, so we got that stuck to the back like so. And then I'm going to take another piece because this is going to help in holding down our ribbon. And then we're going to add our stamp piece on the back here. I just want a little piece just so we can get that ribbon held down. Okay, so then that striped ribbon, so we want a loop at the top. And then of course we want some to hang. Don't need a lot to hang down, but we want a little bit more. Okay, so then we're going to take this and let's get our scissors and we'll trim that at an angle like so. And then we're going to take this, we're going to place this down like so. Bring this up. Okay, so we want to kind of hold this down. And then we're going to take our rosette and we're going to place this right over like that, just so that way we can have this kind of hold on onto that like so. And then I'm going to take this backing piece and this is going to cover that all up. Make sure that I got so. Okay, and then I'm going to take this, I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue on the back of this and try not to get it all over my fingers. And I'm going to glue that right over the top of all this, right in the middle. And it is hot. Okay, so that's going to hold all of that together. And then on the front, I'm going to take a little bit more hot glue and I'm going to add that on this piece. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to place that right over the middle like so. So you can feel the heat from that glue through the cardstock. But one thing's for sure, this thing is not going to fall apart. So I'm done with the glue. Hold on, let me unplug it. That's one thing I don't want to forget to do is unplug that glue gun. I think this automatically shuts off, I think, after a certain amount of time of it not moving, I believe. Okay, and I got that off of Amazon. So in the description, I do have a link that will take you to it. I don't have like any affiliates at all. I just provide the links of the products that I use in my videos if you're interested in getting them. So here is the third project. So basically it's just a birthday ribbon. This was, oops, we forgot something. We forgot to add some of our faceted gems. So let me bring those in. And we're going to use these larger ones. I'll add a few of those on here. So, so excuse me, doing too much talking and now I'm coughing. Okay, so what I'm going to mention is that so Terry, if you follow me on my Friday Night Lives, you usually will find Terry in the chat box. She lives out in Burbank, California. Her and Yvonne have been friends for quite a few years. And since Yvonne's been living here in Memphis, both of them, their birthdays are in April. So Yvonne's is on April 14th. And then tomorrow, I'm recording this on a Sunday, by the way. So tomorrow, the 28th, is Terry's birthday. So she has come out to visit and they kind of like celebrate their birthdays together. I was able to celebrate it with both of them last year. So last year was the first time I met Terry in person. She's definitely a real hoot. And if you haven't caught the Saturday Night Live that we did on Saturday night at 6:30. She is the guest stamper. So all of you can now put the face and the voice to the name. And she did an awesome job, and it's a lot of laughs definitely were shared throughout that. Yvonne was sitting up in the living room, so she was on the other end of the apartment. And if you know video, like YouTube videos, there's like this 7-second delay. So we could be back here, we can be saying something, and if we kind of bring up her name and say something funny, then 7 seconds later, then you would hear her laughing at the other end of the apartment. So it's pretty funny. So if you hadn't had an opportunity to watch that, give that a watch. We had done the lighter than air suite. So the hot air balloon bundle is still available, but the designer series paper that had retired, but the embellishments and the twine are still available. So yeah, we had used that for the Saturday night live. And so this is the Friday night kind of live. So things are a little bit backwards. And I apologize for that. Time just got away from me during last week. So these little birthday ribbons are actually going to be part of their birthday gift for me, and we're actually going to be celebrating the birthdays tomorrow. So tomorrow night, yeah, either tomorrow night or Tuesday morning. It's one of the two. But yeah, let me bring in the projects that we did for this Friday. Well, kind of for Friday night, kind of live, but not on a Friday night, just a little bit late. So let me bring in the other two projects that we did. So we did this first one. This one was fairly simple. Again, we're utilizing the dies that are in the set of dies. And that's kind of a simple, quick put together card. And then we did this really bright and colorful happy birthday card with the rosette literally like glued right onto the card base. Now this one again, it would cost a little bit more to mail this, and you would probably want to put this like in a bubble envelope because you wouldn't want to see this get crushed when they try to put, well, they couldn't put that through the postal machine, it would get jammed. But this is definitely something that'd be perfect if you were hand delivering the card. So there's our second really bright and colorful birthday card. And then we have our two birthday ribbons. So the sample that I made earlier, and then the pink themed one that we just put together here. So if you like the projects, please give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell. It will also let you know when I go live or when I post a pre-recorded video. Uh, so for next week, or actually it is next week already, it's after midnight now, so for Thursday, it will be May 1st. So for that day, there will be two videos. There will be a Throwback Thursday, and then there will be a monthly Christmas card inspiration video. I do not know what product I am using yet for either one of those. And then, of course, then there'll be a Friday Night Live. I don't foresee there being any reason for me doing a kind of live, so I should be here to do the live. That'll be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. At that point, you will probably see Terry in the chat box because she will be returning home to Burbank on Thursday morning, I believe. Also, I have a paper pumpkin kit that needed to be resent to me from Stampin' Up, so I should be getting that at some point this coming week, and it should be while we're still in April. So soon as I get that, it could be a Tuesday, it could be a Wednesday, but when I get it, I will then do a pre-recorded video with that. And basically what I do is I do an unboxing and then I create one of each of the projects that's in the kit. So that's a couple of things that are coming up. Again, the new annual catalog that'll go live on May 6th. So if you are not currently working with a demonstrator or ordering from another demonstrator, and you live in the US and you would like a paper copy, in the description is my email. Just simply send me an email with your full name and mailing address and let me know that you would like a catalog. There is a cost with the postage and all that, so that's why I say if you're ordering from another demonstrator, please request a catalog from them. I also have a monthly newsletter. I typically send those out on the first Tuesday of the month. That's when Stampin' Up! Lets us know what the new kits are going to be in the kits collection. They usually come out with 2 or 3 new kits every month. And I like to include, pictures and descriptions and all that of those new kits. Also, that's when they have like announcements and things that we have weekly updates. So if there's any info that's in there, I'd like to share that with you as well. Like what happened this month, well, just a couple of days ago, we had free shipping. So, of course, I didn't know about that at the beginning of the month. So, at that point, I did send out another newsletter kind of highlighting that, letting everybody know that's on my newsletter list that that was going on. So, that ended on Friday the 25th. And again, this is a little bit coming to you a little bit late. So that had finished up. And then the only other thing that there really is that we still have the last chance list that's out there. There are quite a few things that are already gone, but then there's also a lot more other things that are still available. Just simply go to the online store, and anything that you see that says last chance, that's what is going to be going away. some of the items are discounted. Be mindful if there is a bundle. Take a look at the individual components. So if it's a stamp set and a set of dies, the bundle pricing is already at 10% off, so they're not going to discount that anymore. But they may have like a discount on the stamp set and they may have a discount on the set of dies. So it would end up being cheaper to purchase the components to that bundle separately. Now, my understanding is this bundle isn't going away, so this won't be part of the last chance. But again, when you go through the online store, if it says last chance, then that's the items that are going to retire. And basically, it's while supplies last, because once they're gone, then they're gone. But there is also a lot of stuff too that is carrying over, and I believe some of it may end up in the annual catalog, but most of it may end up in with the online exclusive. So it'll carry on for just a little bit longer. The same thing applies to the stuff that's in our January to April mini catalog. Some of that stuff is retiring, and then there's also some stuff that's also carrying over as well. There's a lot of paper from between this current annual catalog and the mini catalog that's actually carrying over. So with that, that's all that I have for you in this video. And so again, I should be back here on Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And again, I got to figure out what it is I'm going to be using. I did take advantage of free shipping, so I do have some new product coming. So if I get it early enough, that's most likely what we'll be using probably next Friday. So until then, everybody be safe and have a blessed one, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.